for you, when you're sitting down to write, do you have the concept of, oh, I want something funny and I'm just going to see what happens in your mind? Or do you sit down and you already know the choreography or the visual or whatever?
Yeah, I usually know the choreography, although a lot of it just, it'll pop into my brain once I've got the personalities of the hero and the heroine.
Mm,
And so especially because in this instance, he's dark and brooding. He actually, Leo the Marquis is actually captured and held prisoner for 4 years in an enemy prison, enemy,
mm,
you know, cell, and finally was released. Didn't think he would ever see freedom again. So he's coming from this is a very light humorous book, but he's actually coming from a dark place,
yeah.
just trying to get his life back in order. He's still a young man, he's still in his 20s. And then all of a sudden this just this little bubble. And that's how I said the humor. It's just you just want to do this, have these little moments of absurdity that,
Mm,
or if it's just a natural, you're walking down the street and it's going to happen. Something out of the ordinary is going to happen. And so this is what I set it up. And I also set it up so that it's fits the personalities of the characters, because Marigold is just this, she's been helping her best friend on an archaeological dig and got back, and now she has this big, it's a dinosaur skull that they discovered. So
wow.
of course, it's just like to throw in these little bits of it's, I mean, it makes perfect sense, but it's nonsensical also. So that's kind of how I like to work it. And so this is just how she's got to make her appearance. She's not going to just walk over and say, "Oh, hello, I'm your neighbor." It's her little dog has stolen the skull and he's walking running around, and this is what
Yeah.
Leo's going to see. So
Well, and knowing that he's a dark brooding hero, she's a sunshine, so she's going to pull him into the light. I'm seeing a metaphor there where this entrance, she's in the garden, literally pulling him out of this dark house. Well, it's not as dark. He talked about how it's not that dark, but she's pulling him out of the house into the real world.
yes,
Very interesting. So, as I mentioned in the intro, you are celebrating 60 books and you have several long running series. This is the Farthingale series that you sampled. I know your Book of Love series also has at least a dozen books in it.
yes, yeah. Full length books and some novellas. Yes,
Wow.
yeah.
So I'm curious. A series is kind of like a long term relationship. So, how do you keep things fresh for yourself? Being like, I'm excited to stay in this series.
Yeah. I think part of it for me is that I love writing and I love the matchmaking part of my romances. And so everything feels fresh because every hero and heroine are fresh, and they're going to react. Each hero is going to react differently. Each heroine is going to react differently. So the stories do still, you know, so hopefully it keeps that freshness going because they are new to me and they're going to get into trouble. And the big alpha's going to come and rescue the innocent heroine. And so it's just going to be fun. And I try to I keep it humorous, even if I deal with some more serious issues. It's always with a light touch and always with a positive attitude.
Mhm.
I always want my readers to smile as they read the book and then feel better, just even about themselves or about whatever is going on, just for, as they finish reading it. That to me is very important.
Interesting. And is that because that's the type of romance you like to read?
Yes, yeah, I think a lot of it is, although I love mysteries also, I love dragons and things like that, but I think in my Regency romances, I kind of like that lighter touch, which is why we all love Jane Austen so much because she's able to, she wrote those, they're very romantic, they're fun, and Julia Quinn also with her Bridgertons, it's the same kind of thing. And that tends to be the kind of romance that I enjoy reading.
Yeah. So, who are some of the authors who influenced you before you started writing?
Oh, I had some really, well, really the old, I'd call them the old timers, Joanna Lindsay, Judith McNaught.
Mhm.
Uh, I think one of the really to this day, one of the most wonderful and rapturing books that I read was Judith McNaught and her Kingdom of Dreams. I just loved it. Every, you know, I was like every trope you could find. I mean, it wasn't that it was so original because she had her hero was the big dark knight medieval times and the heroine was a sweet, it was just but just the writing was just beautiful. I just